It is 00:00, and you are listening to the Best of Bond with your hosts Tylord and Wubs.
I must say, it's lethal.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Best of Bond with your hosts Wubs and Tylord. And here's another highlight of my life. We're going to talk about one of my favorite movies ever made. Diamonds Are Forever, episode 13, lucky number or unlucky number 13. Mixed opinions about this movie. Some people really like it, or actually a couple people really like it. I'm one of them. Most people don't like this one. We're going to talk about Diamonds Are Forever. And I'm here with my co-host Wubs. How you doing, buddy? Are you as hyped as I am?
Yeah, because it's been, 2 weeks since we did a recording, and I've been looking forward to doing Diamonds for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
But it's you mentioned that a lot of people don't like this movie, and I think we're about to spend 2 hours discussing why those people are wrong, right?
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear you say that. Yeah. I had a feeling you liked it, but I wasn't sure. Excellent. Yeah.
I don't know how you couldn't like this film. Honestly, it's just if you have a sense of humor, you have to like this movie because it's so funny.
Right. And it's really surprising coming off of the last one. That kind of a downer moment at the end. I would say overall, Majesties wasn't a super dark movie. It was probably one of the darker Bond movies, but up until the end, the last minute of the movie, it wasn't that super dark. But we are coming from a very dark moment, and then all of a sudden, just something changed. I don't know if when we went into the 70s, everyone got all happy and silly. I don't know, but all of a sudden, this movie just totally changes the tone, changes the actor, changes the director back to Guy Hamilton. I think this movie, it was really trying to go for that Goldfinger vibe. I think they were really trying to bring back the magic of Goldfinger. I don't know if they succeeded or not. That's arguable, but I think they wanted to bring back Guy Hamilton. They wanted to bring back Shirley Bassey. They wanted to bring back Sean Connery himself. And they really wanted to bring back the vibe of Goldfinger. It felt like I even heard they were planning on bringing back Goldfinger himself, Gert Frobe, to play Goldfinger's twin brother in this. So they really wanted to recapture that Goldfinger magic, because that was the thing that kind of catapulted this series, and which I think it's what made Thunderball so much money. Everyone was so hyped from Goldfinger.
Yep.
And then Thunderball was just like the peak of the spy thriller 60s movies. So I really feel like they were really trying to go for the Goldfinger vibe with this. And this movie, it's not really the most expensive movie. It was $7.2 million, which is $200,000 more than on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which isn't much. It's not much more expensive. And I think probably $1 million of that was Sean Connery's fee, right? Because he only came back for a high price.
Yep.
And I think and it had a good box office grossing. I think 43 million. So it did make quite a bit of money. I think the movie needed this kind of catapult, to keep it going. I think the movie they needed a movie like this. They needed Sean Connery to come back at this point. But we're on to Diamonds Are Forever from 1971. Oh man, I'm just so hyped. I've been so hyped to talk about this. I'm sorry we couldn't do this sooner, but I was getting behind with stuff. But I know you and I are both hyped to talk about this, and I have some wonderful history with this movie. It's been one of my favorites since I was 6 years old. But what about you? What's your history with this movie, and what did you think about it before our most recent viewing?
It's one of the films that I definitely saw at a fairly young age. I don't remember the order that I saw the Connery movies in exactly, other than I know I saw Goldfinger first. But this one, I think I probably saw it. If I hadn't seen it before, I definitely saw it the Christmas of 95 or 96 when I watched Goldeneye. you know, because
Hmm.
my aunt got the Sean Connery box set for Christmas of the old VHS tapes the same year,
Right.
and she got the GoldenEye VHS when it came out, and it had like just come out. So
Oh yeah.
we watched like all of them that Christmas when I was a kid, and
Hmm.
I enjoyed all of them again. Like I thought I think at the time I didn't even realize how funny Diamonds was. I
Hmm.
liked it. You know, it was entertaining. I thought all the Sean Connery
Hmm.
movies were entertaining. Like I never to this day I've never really seen a bad Bond film. You know, that's why we're doing the show.
Hmm.
But
Yes.
watching Diamonds again, it's like it's amazing how much stuff I picked up on that I hadn't really seen before or really registered with how funny it was.
Yeah.
Especially
Right.
following Majesties, right, which is so much darker
Yeah.
in tone.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah, which did have some funny moments. I get a kick out of a lot of the dialogue, and Majesties had a lot of good dialogue. I'm gonna make a bold statement, a hot take here. I think this Bond movie has the best dialogue. I know it's corny and funny, but just I don't know if it's the best dialogue, but for me, it's my favorite dialogue in in any Bond movie.
I,
Uh,
I will say I don't know if
yeah,
I'd say that, but I will give you it is probably the
yeah,
most entertaining dialogue of any of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I over the years I just love this movie more and more. When I first saw it, I was a little kid, and I think I probably saw this before Her Majesty's Secret Service, so I was never offended by them totally changing tone.
Right.
Maybe I just watched maybe I just watched Goldfinger and the Man with the Golden Gun and The Spy Who Loved Me, and then all of a sudden I watched this thing and I go, oh yeah, another Bond movie, and Sean Connery's in it. And I noticed he looked kind of older than usual.
Right.
So I figured this is probably one of his last movies. But man, I just was like, ever just from the opening sequence, as silly it is, I just love this. I would like my friends at school and I would like reenact the little fight at the beginning. With I remember with like a lot of my friends really loved this. I didn't realize like it by that point it was like looked down upon. I was just happy to see Sean Connery there, and I didn't really get a lot of the humor at the time. I just thought it was a fun movie. As much as some of it doesn't make sense, if you really look into the plot and scrutinize it and pick stuff apart, like you could find a lot wrong with it. But just as far as the entertainment value, like as a kid, I loved it, and I still love it to this day.
That's
Yeah, so
awesome.
that's about that's my history with it.
Hmm.
Yeah, one of probably the earlier movies I saw, and I do remember thinking at the time it had like the most action. I've been watching a lot of reviews leading up to this, and I hear a lot of people say this is kind of has bad action moments and that they're few and far between. But I remember when I watched it as a kid, I thought this one like had the most action. Like there was like I remember my mom watched it and she said, "Wow, this there's just one thing after another in this movie." That's how
Right.
I feel like it. Like there's quite a bit going on, especially towards the middle of this movie. And I love the location, Vegas, and we're in Holland a little bit. Yeah, I just and all the characters. We'll get to the characters in a bit, but I think this is like the greatest ensemble, if not maybe top three Bond movies. Ensemble of silly characters, like even minor characters in this. I love like characters that are on the in the movie for like 10 seconds have really memorable lines and they're really memorable. Like I love every line, mostly from every character in this movie.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Especially like Plenty O'Toole and
yes, yes.
Shady Tree. They're very memorable
Oh yeah,
characters that are
yeah.
just there for a few minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, plenty of. So I remember her thinking. Remember, she was like a big part of this movie, but she only has like two scenes. A lot of her scenes were cut, which is unfortunate. Maybe we'll get to that later. But
Right.
yeah, maybe I just liked her for her looks, but she was pretty darn funny. Had a lot of good lines for her
Uh,
short time in the movie. I think she was billed. She was billed maybe fourth on the credits.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. I
yeah,
didn't notice that. That's interesting. You know.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I thought she had a great
Mm-hmm.
personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, among other things.
Right.
Oh yeah, but this from start to finish, I love this thing. It might kind of. I think the climax of this, we'll get to that later. It might not be my favorite. I think it could have done with something a little better at the end. But other than that, like, uh, I wouldn't be going against my better judgment, if like my honesty, if I were to say this is my favorite Bond movie because I really love it.
Mm-hmm.
and, and it opened and it opens up with a gun barrel sequence, a really good music. I like the John Barry composition of this one too. It and we see Sean Connery back again. They used to use the same footage from his previous two movies for the gun barrel sequence,
Yep.
and then it goes straight to Japan. So this could actually be a sequel. I didn't realize there was a revenge thing going on, but you could look at it two ways. One, you could think it's a revenge, like Blofeld had just killed, and Irma Bunt had just killed Tracy, so he's off on revenge. He's looking for Blofeld. He's going from Japan to Cairo, and then he ends up. I don't know where he ends up, but I think he's in Argentina at the end of Brazil, right? At the end of his hunt.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but it could be just a short revenge little scenario to wrap up on Her Majesty's Secret Service. It could be that, which I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping they're not trying to erase On Her Majesty's Secret Service from the continuity, because you could look at it that he's in Japan and it just happens right after You Only Live Twice, and he's beating up that guy. Where's Blofeld?
Right.
Hey, Cairo. So you could look at it both ways.
That's
But what do you think
interesting.
about that? What do you think about the lead up to catching Blofeld in this, that little opening part?
Or yeah, I hadn't ever really thought of it as a direct sequel to You Only Live Twice, but that makes perfect sense. And it actually
Yeah,
flows way better, right? Because you
yeah,
don't have Lazenby being a different actor, and the
yeah,
tone of, as you know, at the end of Majesty's Secret Service is the saddest part in the whole series by
yeah,
far.
yeah,
So it's like, uh, to go from that to Connery sort of, I hesitate to say the word playful, but essentially it's sort of a playful
yeah,
chase at the beginning.
yeah,
He sounds so
yeah,
serious or whatever, but it's almost like, I don't know, maybe it's just the acting or the lines or whatever, but it just
yeah,
sounds so, it's just silly compared to
yeah.
Majesty's immediately, right? The tone of
Yes, it
it
is.
is just
Yeah,
not the same at all. It's much more in line with You Only Live Twice. Like, he just got out of the boat
yeah,
with Kissy, and yeah,
yeah,
he's off to find
yeah.
Blofeld. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and maybe it had taken a while, because when he goes back to M's office, he was talking about he'd been on leave or on vacation.
Right.
Um, but he finally finds Blofeld, and he's going and has some weird scheme where he's making clones of himself or making other guys look like him, which is kind of a weird thing. Maybe they could explore that more in more movies. Like maybe there are more than one Blofelds, and they're still out there, and maybe that's not even the real Blofeld. We don't know, and they all look different. They're all different actors, so it opens a can of worms with Blofeld. But we see Blofeld, and he's not Kelly Savalas. He's Charles Gray, and he was always my favorite Blofeld. But until I saw On Her Majesty's Secret Service,
Yeah.
but I just but we'll talk more about him later. But we see Blofeld for the first time, and he's this prissy, fussy Englishman, Blofeld, like really silly character, even more silly than Tully or Donald Pleasance.
But
And
he's
he's making
also like very suave in his own way, right?
yes,
Like
yes, yeah, yeah. He's
he's
very suave.
extremely well dressed, extremely
Yes,
clean cut Englishman
yeah,
vibe, right?
yeah,
To counter
yeah,
Bond.
yes, yeah. He is, yeah. And I think that's why I always got a kick out of him. But there's this facility he has, and they're making like this mud bath. I guess that's how plastic surgery works. I don't know how it works. I don't know anything about that, but I guess you pour mud on people to have plastic It really is.
Right? No, you
But
definitely do that if you're in a Bond film in the early 70s. 100%. That's how that works.
yeah, yeah,
Could it, I mean,
yeah,
honestly, could you imagine it any other way? I can't.
yeah, yeah. No, no. But yeah, but I guess so. Apparently, the guy inside this mud bath, he's covered with mud. That's the guy that's going to be the next Blofeld, and he's soaking up in this mud. And Bond sneaks in there as a surgeon, and that the guy in the mud bath actually has a gun. He gets up and tries to shoot Bond. Bond, I think this might be one of the. I know Sean Connery does a lot of his own stunts in this,
Mhm.
but I'm pretty sure that was Bob Simmons or someone else. They did a little judo roll, and then he pulls the cord and makes all the mud fall down and drowns the guy in mud.
Right.
And then he sprays him off, and to me, I always thought that guy that he sprayed off the mud on his face looked like Christopher Lee. Did you think that?
Yes, it does look like Christopher Lee. 100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Oh, good. But then like we get Bond and Blofeld back together again, and it's nothing epic at all. It's just very nonchalant, and he's after he drowns the guy, and he pulls his face out. He sprays the mud off to see the face, and then he lets the guy sink back into the mud, and then he's just spraying his mud off of his hand, and then here comes Blofeld with his thugs making mud pies 007. It's a, to take his gun, and then the one thug comes up with the sideburns, and I always like this little trap. Everyone says it's really corny and cheesy and childish, but he has a mouse trap in his coat, so he goes to grab it, and it is pretty grotesque. Like it smashes his hand, it's all bloody, and he beats that guy up, and then the other guy, if you notice, is one of the actor is one of Draco's men, the guy that he throws the knives at.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I like how the music. I like that little battle fighting music, and it's kind of similar to the OHMSS battle music.
Mhm.
And a lot of times it's in sync with what's happening. Like when he throws the knife, it's all tit, tit, tit.
Yeah.
And then he fights Blofeld and puts him on the stretcher and pushes him into the mud lava, and you think that's the end of Blofeld. Welcome to hell, Blofeld. What do you think of this little bit of the movie?
I can't stop thinking about what you said as far as it being a continuation of You Only Live Twice. Like I feel like I need to watch them
Yeah,
back to back now because that just makes so much sense.
yeah,
That works
yeah,
so well. And
yeah.
yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, it's a fun little
Mm-hmm,
intro. If from that perspective, I
mm-hmm,
think I would appreciate it so much more than trying to watch it like a direct sequel to
yeah,
OHMSS because it's such a
yeah,
jarring difference immediately,
mm-hmm,
you know, to try to
yeah,
do that. And yeah, so I think I can appreciate this film much more like with what you said,
yeah,
just viewing it that
yeah.
way.
I would hate to take an OHMSS out of the continuity, and I know it's still there, because they mention it later on in other movies.
Yeah,
But I guess you can maybe place it after Diamonds before Live and Let Die. Oh no, I don't know where you would put that. It
right.
doesn't matter. We can't put too much thought into that, but yeah. And then we go into the opening pre-title sequence. Another Maurice Bender banger here. Um,
Oh yeah.
uh, with a wonderful Shirley Bassey song. I think this is my favorite Shirley Bassey song, just because it sounds very Bondian, I think it's a better song than Goldfinger. And we get a great opening with a kitty cat meowing, and there's a cat, and there's diamonds, and Shirley Bassey singing this like really suggestive song about diamonds. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
and
it's the song that Kanye West covered, right? Of all the Bond songs. So it must be
yeah,
the best
yeah,
one, right? So,
yeah,
or sampled, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's been sampled a lot, I think. It has
Yeah.
that nice little tune. It has that. I love that little background. That doo 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 It's so iconic, and it sounds like Diamonds. Like it sounds like if Diamonds was a sound or a music, it would be that. John Barry's good at that, at taking inanimate objects or places and making the music, bringing that to life with the like with music,
Yeah,
or like
absolutely.
how it would like, yeah. And we got a lot of naked ladies in this. You can see them very well on our little Blu-rays or in our HD.
Yeah, I feel like the
Yeah,
Blu-ray set took this from PG
yeah,
to
yeah.
restricted, like on the intros.
uh, yeah, good old Maurice Bender there.
Yeah, great title
Yeah,
sequence. Great. I agree with
yeah,
you. It's definitely my favorite Shirley Bassey song as well. And
yeah,
the cool thing too is if you listen closely to it, this is the first time you get funk in the bass line of a Bond theme,
yeah,
right? Like
yes, yeah,
it's like you can tell like it's the 70s now
yes,
from this theme song.
yeah, yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, this might be one of my favorite songs. I know I said "Live and Let Die" is my favorite, but as far as Bonds that sound songs that sound like a Bond song, like "Live and Let Die" sounds like something totally different, and I love it. And I like how they were going for something different, but this sounds like a Bond song.
Yep.
I love this one.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's funny, right? Because we go through all these Connery films and then you got Live and Let Die, like you said, is totally different. It's the
Hmm.
first like legit rock song, right?
Yeah.
Of all the themes. And that's your
Yeah.
favorite one, and my favorite one is Majesty's, which has that
Yeah.
Barry sound, but it's so different from all the others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Every once in a while they throw out something totally different, and most of the time it really works.
Yep.
Like the Majesty's just doing an instrumental, and then Live and Let Die, a rock song that doesn't really sound Bond at all, but now it sounds Bond because we associate it with Bond, so it sounds very Bondian to us now.
Well,
And then later on,
it was the precursor,
yeah,
right, to things
yeah,
like Duran Duran for View to a
yeah,
Kill, and
yeah.
certainly
I
like
would say even
a precursor
the
to
man with the
yeah, oh, Man with the Golden Gun, yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But I was thinking more so Chris Cornell, Another Way
yeah,
to
Chris
Die.
Cornell song,
You
yeah,
know, like that
yeah,
one and Live and Let Die are really the two heaviest probably in the whole
yeah,
series, right?
yeah, yeah. Because what do you call it? I love A View to a Kill, but it's very, very Bondian. Like it doesn't sound like a
Mm-hmm.
normal rock song. There's all that brass in there. It sounds very
Right.
John Barry. I love that song, but yeah, I would say the two like hardest, just like rock songs, "Live and Let Die" and "You Know My Name."
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
know my name. Not another. I was thinking of
yeah,
Jack
yeah.
White.
Oh, another way to. Yeah, that's another one. I think they were kind of going for that "Live and Let Die" with that one, like something totally
Right.
different. I didn't like that song at all when I first heard it, but now I can kind of appreciate like they're trying to do something new, like
Right.
Paul McCartney and the Wings did,
Well, the mix
and
of the
George Martin.
piano, right? The mix of the piano
Yeah,
with the guitar is really a cool
yeah,
sound, right? Like I like
yeah,
that
yeah,
combination, and it's not that common these days, certainly
yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah. You're right. Yeah,
But yeah, you know my name and Live and Let Die are probably the two hardest songs
yeah,
in the whole series. And
yeah,
I mentioned A View to a Kill just because I mean it has parts of it that are definitely harder, but didn't Barry work on
yeah,
that too? Like so it's sort of like in
yeah.
between, right?
Yeah, Barry worked on that. Usually every movie he's part of, he composed the song.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that one, yeah, with Duran Duran, that's probably my favorite Duran Duran song, of course.
Right, right. Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm not a big Duran Duran fan personally, but I do love that
yeah.
song.
So we'll talk about James Bond himself now. Um, Sean Connery comes back, which I don't know many people expected that. I know they had others in line to possibly play Bond after George didn't want to come back, which is a shame.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, I'm glad. I know we were talking about You Only Live Twice should have been his last one, but I'm just so glad he came back in this one because his performance in this is way better than in You Only Live Twice. Like, oh man, he's just you can tell Sean Connery's like a funny comedic actor from this movie. Like I noticed it in this and Never Say Never Again. He's like has good like comedic timing and he's such a good actor like for doing comedy stuff. I noticed it too in Indiana Jones. He's so funny in that. But in this one, I'm so glad he came back and he looks a lot older. Like it's only a few years since that other movie, and he looks like 10 years older. I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't know if it's a hairdo and his bushy
Yeah,
eyebrows. I don't know. And
you
he slouches more.
you
Yeah,
can really tell that Connery had a
yeah,
really good late 60s. Like
yes,
he,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think he was living it up for those 4 years in this
dude,
gap.
yeah. And I guess he dated both Lana Wood and Jill St. John during this, so he was really living it up.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's pretty
but
cool.
yeah, but I noticed that yeah, kind of which I like Bond being a little older. We talked about this. I like him being older and wiser and confident and wise and just like nonchalant and cocky, or not so
Right.
much cocky, but nonchalant and confident and because he's like a skilled guy. He's has so much wisdom and skill behind him. Um, but I notice he slouches in this, and I do the same thing. Like I'm 6'1", and sometimes I slouch. I think because I don't want to be intimidating to small people,
Yeah.
or either that, or either that, or I'm trying to be like Sean Connery and Diamonds Are Forever.
Uh,
But I notice he slouches a lot. And I don't know. I think you think maybe if Terrence Young was there, he'd be like, stand up straight or whatever. But I don't think he would have even cared. Like, I came back for this $1 million. I can do whatever I want. You guys wanted me to be here so I can slouch. I don't know. Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Yeah, but I love Connery. I love Connery, and I think he's funnier than ever. I think, not saying it's his best performance. I think maybe From Russia with Love or Goldfinger is, but this is probably my favorite Connery performance, just because he does so much compared to the last one where he didn't really do much in acting in the
Yeah,
You Only Live Twice.
right.
Man, but he does all kind, not so much serious, but he does. If you notice, he does take it serious for most of the time, but man, just the comedy moments are just so funny with him. Um, but what do you think about Sean Connery in this?
I think you nailed it on the head, right? I mean, he's obviously looks a lot older, but he's still James Bond. You know, he still pulls it off, and
Yeah,
he does it in a more humorous way than he'd done before, for sure.
yeah,
So and
hmm
I think it kind of makes sense to think about Bond being a little older too, and maybe
hmm
not taking himself so seriously because he's a little more older.
yeah,
Like it kind of makes sense in a
yeah,
way.
right, yeah. I just love this. This is what Bond is to me. Bond isn't being mopey and depressed, but like I like Bond being like confident and nonchalant. This is kind of like the
Hmm.
stereotypical like trope of Bond, like you see it in parodies a lot. Like he's always just like nonchalant and
Right.
never in trouble, never worried about anything. This is like how I like my Bond right here.
Yeah,
I
so
was
what you're
like, I think
saying
this is
is
probably
you like your Bond like Austin Powers, basically, right?
yeah, a little bit closer to that. Yeah, only he's not the butt of the joke.
Right.
Austin Powers funny because he's the butt of the joke, but the Sean Connery, this is about the same, but he's not the butt of the joke.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, everything
yeah,
around him is the butt of the joke.
yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. So
Absolutely.
anything else about Sean?
About Sean,
Yeah,
I mean I'm glad he came back. I think
yeah,
it was clearly he had another one in him. I mean, I think he could have kept making them after this, right? Because
yeah,
10 years later, he comes back for Never Say Never
yeah,
Again. So
yeah. And actually, yeah, and he seemed in better shape. He seemed in better shape in that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think he
Yeah,
probably was in better shape. Well,
yeah,
you
yeah.
got to cut the guy some slack. If he was dating Jill St. John, he was probably pretty tired.
Oh God, yeah,
Like,
yeah, no,
he probably couldn't.
yeah.
He couldn't, get enough vitamin E to keep going.
Oh my
Like
God, yeah.
it's just crazy.
Right. So I guess he had broken up with his wife at that point. I
Hmm.
know he married shortly after that and stayed with that same woman until he died. But the one from previously, he must have split up with her around that time of You Only Live Twice. With I don't know. I didn't look into that too much. I don't care. But
Right.
anyway, what I do care about it is the plots of this movie because it's silly as heck. But and it's nothing like the book. This is one of the movies where like it really strays from the book, and I love the book, and I would like to see an adaptation of the book. It has some similar elements, like there's no Blofeld, there's no Willard White, but there is a criminal organization run by, I think they're called the Sprang brothers. They're
Hmm.
them. One's in South Africa, sending the diamonds, and the other one's in Vegas. And Shady Tree's in it, and Jill Saint or sorry, Tiffany Case is in it. I think she's one of my favorite Bond girls in the book series,
Hmm.
and uh, and Kid and Wint are in it. They're a little bit different. They're a little bit more scary, like hard edged gangsters, and I think they're homosexual in the book too, but
Hmm.
they're a lot scarier. They're a lot less silly in the book. There are a lot of similarities, but this movie is there's none of the same action scenes. There's totally different ones, which I'd like to see. There's a cool car chase in it where that ends up at a movie drive-in, like a movie drive-in. The action ends up there
Hmm.
in Nevada, and then there's this awesome set in the book, and it was never used in the movies. The criminal, one of the brothers, the one in Vegas, had this town. This is before Spectre in the book series, but this town was called Spectre Town, and it was like an old cowboy thing, like that this guy owned out in the middle of nowhere. It was like a cowboy town,
Yep.
and there was actually a bar fight, like Bond fights and kills two like gangsters in this saloon. I think that would be so cool if they had that in a movie. Like he has like a bar fight like in an old saloon.
Right.
I'm really surprised that something like that wasn't in. And then the guy has like a steam train, a locomotive, and he captures Bond and he's torturing him. I think Tiffany rescues him. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but they end up escaping on the rail track with one of those like two-person, like the little gasoline powered little carts,
Hmm.
and and then the bad guy gets on his steam train, starts chasing him. Like there's a cool scene in the book that I'm surprised was never used in the movie. But I'm just saying, like the book is totally different from the movie. Um, there is a diamond smuggling going on, but I'll just read the back of my 20th Century Fox video VHS here. I don't want to try to describe the whole plot. 1971 in color. Sean Connery returns as the daring agent 007 in this fast-paced escapade. Diamonds Are Forever. In his seventh episode of the inflaming thrillers, James Bond finds himself trying to expose an elaborate diamond smuggling operation. Electrifying suspense and whirlwind excitement prevail as Bond's adventures take him from near death at Las Vegas crematorium to the glitter and glamour of Las Vegas casinos. And it's 119 minutes. So, what do you think of the plot of the movie and version of Diamonds Are Forever?
In some ways, it's I think they did a good job of upping the stakes, even from the last few films, right? Because as scary as
Yeah,
OHMSS was, with all of the the basically the killing off of fertility of plants and animals and
yeah,
humans,
yeah,
this is a more direct, like, okay, you know they're just blowing up all these nuclear weapons with
Mm-hmm.
this diamond powered laser that Blofeld
Yeah.
has constructed. So and it can do
Yeah.
it super quick. So like
Yeah.
as it's passing over Earth, it can just take out all these different targets
Yeah.
in different countries
Yeah.
very quickly. Like it's a terrifying weapon.
Yeah.
And so it's a little more like, I mean, we dealt with nuclear stuff before in Thunderball and You Only Live Twice, but
Mm-hmm.
it's, I don't know, it feels a little more intense here, or a little more like
Mm-hmm.
just faster, the
Yeah.
potential threat of the weapon.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
plot's interesting, the acquisition of the diamonds for the laser, and what they go through to do that, and how Bond has to infiltrate the smuggling ring.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
it and ultimately follow it to the moon. Well,
Yeah.
the land, the space base that Blofeld has in the
Yeah.
desert to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting, I thought, as a
Mm-hmm.
plot.
Yeah.
You know, it was
Yeah. I like.
certainly for a movie that's going to be funnier, right? Like
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a pretty dark plot.
Yeah. Yeah, and it didn't really hit as hard as the other ones because they were more serious movie, but this actually is like the most devastating plot so far, but
Right.
just the way it comes off, just of the movie is kind of lighter, like it doesn't really hit as hard as the last ones, but it is like
Yeah.
the most this the most devastating weapon he's ever had.
Because
Yeah.
if you think about it, for the last three films, even though two of them dealt
Mm-hmm.
with nukes and one of them was the fertility,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
virus,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have the death and destruction that happens in Diamonds Are Forever. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
Blofeld is taking out these nukes in China
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
America, and these
Yeah.
huge explosions are happening. Tons of people are dying.
Yeah.
That
He's
we don't
blowing
really
up
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually like the kill count has got to be higher in Diamonds for like the
Yeah.
destruction
Yeah.
that happens than any of the
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. And I like Bond movies when it starts off kind of like nothing important. Like uh he's just on this diamond smuggling trail and he's undercover a lot. I do like it when Bond's undercover, and I think Sean Connery does it best in this movie. He goes undercover in many different names in this.
Right.
Most of the time he's Peter Frank. Most of the time he's Peter Franks, and I just love that dynamic where like this girl thinks that he just killed James Bond. This guy Peter Franks, like who is this fucking badass guy? I know that's kind of like a fourth wall breaking thing. Like everyone knows who James Bond is, but this guy just killed James Bond, and now he's like stealing moon buggies and everything. But I like that. Like who is this freaking guy Peter Franks? He's just like a kill James Bond, and he's like he's not so much a cop and he's not a gangster. Like who is this guy?
Right. He's like
But I like it when it
super
starts off kind of
skilled guy,
yeah
right? Whoever Peter Franks is, to kill James Bond.
yeah. But it's I like how it starts off kind of like a smuggling matter, and even Bond's not all thrilled with it. Like, oh, why are we even bothering with this? And he's kind of even in the book, like he feels like he's above this, and like he does. It seems like, oh, I don't want to go to America, and when he gets there, like I'm not even going to use a fake name. And when people ask him, my name is Bond, James Bond, like he just doesn't take it serious. Like he's just so above it. But in
Right.
the movie, like it starts off kind of it starts like, oh, it's nothing important, but then it gets kind of grows bigger and bigger and bigger until there's more killing and more killing until and then he follows the diamonds to this facility where he sees there's something really sinister going on, kind of similar with OHMSS, like he's doing the whole count thing, the genealogy thing, and then he finds out there's something even bigger going on. I like stuff like that.
No, it's
And
very cool. It adds that level of
yeah,
intrigue when he's undercover.
yeah, yeah, like that. And then and I do like how I think it was an idea of, I think Broccoli came up with it, the idea of the Willard White character. where he's such a recluse you would never know if he's gone, and Blofeld actually kidnapped him, and he's overtaken his identity, and he runs he has like so many resources. He's a Willard White is kind of like what's his name? Howard Hughes. He's kind of like a Howard Hughes type guy
Oh
with all
yeah.
these resources, like a reclusive industrialist guy and he
Mm-hmm.
just hides up in his penthouse the whole time. And so you would never know he's gone, and he just is overtaken his organization. So he has all of his resources, and you see a lot of his men defect to Blofeld, like they just work for Blofeld now.
Yep.
Which is cool. And he gets Dr. Metz there to work on the laser weapon. So I do like that aspect of it too. The only thing is there are some plot holes in this, and I hear a lot of complaints about like why is Kid and Wink killing everyone? Like they all seem to be working for Blofeld, but Kid and Wink. I think it's just because they're tying up loose ends. Like I kind of like the movie for that.
Okay.
Kid and Wint. Look at yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh
ask you about that because when I was watching it, I was actually a little confused by that part of it. I wasn't sure
yeah
if it was two smuggling rings or like competing or
yeah
something. And
yeah. It could be that too. Like it is confusing. Like if I put thought into it, it doesn't make sense. And then also like Morton Slumber, why didn't they kill him? Because he knew all about it. He was working with Shady and he was
right.
overseeing the transaction, which is weird. Unless like certain people are working for Blofeld and they're just cutting off all the loose ends. I don't know.
Well, and I,
They're
I
from the
sort
other
of
side.
I sort of thought that might have been what it was they were
Yeah,
Kid and Wint were taking out everybody who knew it until they got to Blofeld's people, which would have been, the memorial place with
yeah,
Shady Tree and then but they killed Shady Tree too. So
yeah.
so by that then is it either the guy who ran the memorial place was one of
Hmm.
Blofeld's trusted men, or
Yeah,
maybe they killed him and they just didn't show it.
yeah, it could have been that. And the gangsters too, like what are they? Are they more of Blofeld's men, or are they just part of the chain?
I wasn't sure
um,
because we don't see what happens
yeah,
to them, right? They just drop
yeah,
Bond off and they leave, right?
yeah, yeah. And then another one, or they come back later on to kill Plenty,
Right.
and to get no, they come back to get the real diamonds because they think Peter Franks knows where it is.
Yeah, so they're working with Jill
But
St. John because Jill St. John had them throw Plenty out the
yeah,
window.
yeah. Oh, you're right. So yeah, so she must be in a faction with those guys, huh?
Right.
I can't keep track of it, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Epiphany, yeah.
Yep.
Another thing, a kind of a plot hole or something that wasn't explained quite well was the death of Plenty, who a kid and went to Tiffany's house to kill her, but but Plenty was there, so they killed her instead. Maybe they thought it was Tiffany with the black wig on, and they
Mm.
drowned her. But that didn't really make sense to me. Like, why is Plenty there? But there's a deleted scene where Plenty gets out of the the swimming pool that the goons threw her in, and she comes back up to the room, and she sees Bond and Tiffany in bed together. She gets pissed off, and she takes Tiffany's wallet, or she looks at where her address is. So then, like, I don't know if
Mm.
she's gonna go get revenge on her. So then that's why she showed up at Tiffany's house, and Kid and Wink killed her, thinking it was Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they should have left that in the movie. They should have left that in the movie. I thought because it didn't make like why is Plenty drowned in the pool? But then, and I think it would have worked better too because you remember when Bond turns the lights off, he goes to pound Tiffany, and then like there's no transition or anything. It just goes straight to them after sex, and he has an ashtray on his chest, and they're smoking.
Mm-hmm.
They could have just that scene was just meant to be like there. It could have cut from him turning off the light, and then you see Plenty walk in and see what's going on and get pissed off, and then look at Tiffany's purse. I don't know if that was too much drama or whatever,
Right.
but that would have made more sense to why she would have been there. And I guess I don't know if it was ever filmed them killing poor Plenty. That would have been kind of a weird scene, seeing them like tie her up and throw her in the pool.
Yeah, I don't think that would have vibed
Hmm.
so well with the general comedy of the movie.
Yeah, yeah. So overall, like the plot, I like in this a lot. Like even I don't understand a lot of it, but it just goes along so fast. I just find like most every scene in this movie is entertaining. All the little each little link in the chain, every person's a hilarious character.
Hmm.
Uh, and we go from South Africa to Holland and Las Vegas. So we get a little bit of Bond in England. He takes that hovercraft across the channel there.
Right.
Um, what do you think about the locations in this movie?
I think it's really cool at the beginning because he goes to so many different countries on the trail. And
Yeah,
that's probably of all the Bond films, that's the fastest travel montage in all of them
yeah,
for
yeah,
different places he
yeah,
goes, which is kind of cool.
yeah,
But as far
yeah.
as like the locations go, I honestly I think this is one of the more dull ones for me personally, just because
Hmm.
I mean it's basically what do you got? You got Holland, England, and Las Vegas
Yeah,
plus Baja, California, right?
yeah,
I mean that's basically
yeah. Baja. Yeah, yeah,
right. Uh, and I
yeah.
I feel like and I think it's probably just because I'm American, right? It's like Las Vegas and
Hmm.
California just aren't really exotic to me, you know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Holland definitely is, but
yeah,
England's in
yeah,
every Bond movie, so that's nothing special, right?
yeah,
So it's just yeah, I'm
yeah.
not trying to like say like it wouldn't be cool to other people though. Like again, I think it's just the
Hmm.
fact that I
Yeah,
am from America. I've been to California multiple times. It's just not that, we're
yeah.
a far cry from the Swiss Alps, let's put it that way, or Thailand, like
Right, yeah, right, yeah,
uh,
right. Yeah.
what about you? What do you think of the locations in this?
Oh, 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 I do like it for it has that globe trotting aspect, especially at the beginning. Like you said, like it goes from Japan to Cairo and then down to South America really quickly. And that was a lot of good, like fast-paced editing. We don't have Peter Hunt in this.
Right.
And I forgot to mention last time we had John Glenn doing the last one. I forgot to mention him editing.
Hmm.
We'll talk about him in the future a lot, John Glenn. But there's a couple of other editors on this, and I know they're very experienced. So I think the editing was fine in this. I think there was Burt Bates and John Holmes,
Right.
and this movie sure needed a lot of editing. But kind of getting off the subject, but then when we get into the bigger locations, like Holland, that's pretty cool to see on film and the all the buildings and the canals and all that.
Right.
But then the most of this movie takes place in Vegas, and I really love him in Vegas. Like it's not glamorous, I don't think, like the other movies. I mean, people say it's not a real Bond location, but it was actually from the novel, so I guess it is a Bond location. But I like to see Bond like out of his element in places like we were talking about in the cabin on the last, or the barn on the last one.
Right.
I like
Right.
to see him like out of his element where you wouldn't think he would fit in there, but he owns it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
like it's not glamorous like that casino in Spain on the last one. It's so elegant and he fits in there so nicely. This is some grimy, grubby. I can smell smoke just from watching this movie, like a Turdio Circus. My wife and I stayed at Circus for our honeymoon just because I talked her into it because I like Bond movies, but 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 just this whole grimy sleazy uh, location of Vegas. Like I like how Bond's there and he owns it. Like he's even wearing his suit and he's at the casino. Like he's just owning this, just like he was at any other casino. So I like the setting for this, and I like the car chase through Vegas Strip, which would never happen now.
Right.
I thought that was a wonderfully edited. car chase. That's probably after Live and Let Die. This is probably my favorite car chase. I just love all the little fast cuts and there's so many like people on the street. It looks so frantic and chaotic, and it's something out of like I don't know. I guess because I watched like Dukes of Hazzard and stuff when I was a kid, like all the cops making fools of themselves or
Right.
whatever.
I mean, the car chase is great.
But
You know, it's very
yeah,
fun, and yeah, you're right. It would never happen now. It
yeah,
wouldn't have happened then, right? They had to close down the streets to record it,
yeah.
to do
No,
the
yeah,
filming.
right, right, yeah, yeah. They did. I can't believe that happened. Yeah. And there was some problems with that too. I don't know if you where the car ends up like the second unit, or they had to go back and refilm it leaving on its side, leaving the alley. The car goes up on its side, which was done in one take. I guess that was an awesome stunt. Like the stunt driver went up on the side, went through the tiny alley,
Mm,
and then I guess when it came out on the other side, there was too many onlookers watching like fans, so couldn't use that film,
right.
so they had to refilm it, and then the stunt driver that redid it had it on the wrong side. So it
Right.
so they had to insert that one little part where you see them like inside the car, like the car uh, tilting diagonally the other way for no reason, just to make it look like for the continuity. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I love and then that facility that the Willard White's like was faking the moon landing and all that. I like
Right.
that facility up there. Yeah, so I like it overall. Like I guess I like Vegas. Like I'm not a gambler and I'm not a partier and I'm not a drinker and I'm married, so I'm not about the women. But I like Vegas, just like walking around and seeing all the sights. I've been there a couple of times. I just like going there just to like hang out and walk around. but
Mm-hmm.
but uh
Yeah, that's cool.
but so yeah, so I don't mind it so much. But what I really don't mind at all are the women in this. You want to talk about the girls in this?
Yeah, sure.
I guess we can talk about plenty, since there's not too many girls in this. Like I said, the last two were perfect because he bangs like four women in those. This one he doesn't even get with plenty, right? Those cock blocker mobsters
Right.
break it up.
Yep.
But so he only gets with one girl, but the one girl is amazing. But before we get to her, you want to talk about Plenty and all of her
Yeah.
wonderful dialogue.
Plenty is
Uh,
great, right? She's very
yeah,
peppy. She's like, isn't it funny? Like she's probably the stereotypical American girl that the directors would have like the people making the movie, all these British people would think of. Yeah, that's the average American
yes,
girl. You know, kind of
yeah,
ditzy,
yeah,
very overly friendly,
yeah,
very
yeah,
in your personal space.
yeah, yeah,
That's probably how they viewed
yeah,
American women in general.
yeah. And this is the first time we got American women in a Bond movie, and we get two of them.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, and you can tell. I know the writers, Maybaum and Mankiewicz, are both American, and of course the producers are Canadian and American. But Guy Hamilton's this Englishman, and I'm pretty sure he's irritated by American stuff, and he likes to make Americans look stupid and make the CIA look like a bunch of idiots, and the cars are crappy and they get destroyed, and the
Right.
women are kind of stupid.
Yep.
But no, but I love Plenty. Like I said, she's only has a couple lines, a couple scenes, but they're so memorable. Like usually the first person that comes to mind when I think of this movie is Plenty.
Right.
Um, yeah, not only the way she looks, but just she's so funny and all of her last. Like I said, that was my favorite pun. Hi, I'm
Right.
Plenty, but of course you are. Plenty O'Toole. And then there's another really funny moment when there was actually another deleted scene where they go have a drink at a restaurant. There's like on the boat, the heart playing around this little canal, and there was more little silly dialogue, like she's asking him, "Oh, are you a knight or something?" And he says, "No, I'm a mere commoner." Yeah, no, yeah, I'm a mere commoner. She goes, "Oh well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm a Democrat. But that
Oh
was,
wow!
but I
Why
thought it
would
was a
they
cute
cut
scene, but
that?
it
That is
wasn't.
so good.
I don't know. Yeah, I know. But then we see, oh my gosh, her body too. I think this might be my favorite Bond girl body. I don't want to get pervy, but she is plenty in all the right areas, and you get to see a lot of them. Um, and but I like it when he brings her up to his room and like he doesn't even invite her in. Wow, what a super place you have in here.
Yeah.
He's like, well, if you'd like to come in plenty, and then
Right.
they start making out, and he unzips her dress and it falls off, and you get to see her wonderful assets there. And then she walks off to the bathroom like, just give me 1 second, lover, and she walks off, and then he goes into the room, and this is one of my favorite scenes. He turns the light on, and there's the mobsters in there, and he
Mm.
says, he says, I'm afraid you've caught me with more than my hands up. He puts his hands up, and they're pointing guns at him.
Yep.
And then they drag her out of the bathroom, and she's topless. She just has on her little tiny um underwear there, and she's like, hey, what is this, a perverts convention? And then they take her and throw her out of the window. She goes, hey, stop it, I have friends in this town. And then she lands in the swimming pool. And I love this scene too, where that old mobster, the one that comes back in The Man with the Golden Gun, um like Bond looks down there, he's all exceptionally fine shot, and then that mobster says, I didn't know it was a pool down there. And then, but I just want to throw another little story out. When my wife and I went and watched the Wolverine movie, I think it was called Wolverine, the one where he was, I can't remember, but he was in a building and he grabbed a guy and he threw him out of the building, and the guy landed in a pool. You remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It's been a long
Yeah,
time, but I
and then
remember.
uh, but then the girl in the room with him says, "Wow, that was a good shot." And or she goes, "How did you know there was a pool down there?" And he's like, "I didn't." And then my wife and I looked at each other and we both said, "Diamonds are forever."
Nice.
uh, okay, but kind of getting off the subject from plenty, but anything else about the plenty?
No, I think you covered it pretty well, and as you said, there is
Yeah.
so much of her. But if she wasn't enough, here comes Miss Tiffany Case, like right
Oh yes.
after.
Oh yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about Tiffany Case.
yeah, it's. I mean, she's in the room there, and in the next room, that the mobsters all leave. They just slowly back out of this room after Plenty
Yeah.
is tossed out, and Bond's confused for a second. Walks
Yeah.
over to the bedroom door. I guess he saw the light
Hmm.
on or whatever, and
Yeah.
there's Tiffany Case in bed, and
Mm.
you know just
Yeah.
very inviting as Jill St. John is in every scene, I'd say, in this movie,
Wow.
pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have this fun back and forth, right? This is the thing about Tiffany. Like, yeah, Plenty had the assets, but
Hmm.
Tiffany has the she's got the goals, right? She's after
Yeah.
that bag, and
Yeah.
she's got the wit to and the charm to back it up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Oh,
go
I yes, I love her.
yeah. So they're
Yeah.
very different characters, even though they're both
Yeah.
Americans, the two of them.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
yeah, it's watching this movie. It's like it's hard. I mean, I hear what you're saying about Plenty, but I
Hmm.
think Jill St. John is one of my favorite Bond girls. I know we did our Best of Bond
Oh,
series a while ago, and we talked
yes.
about her a
Mm-hmm.
bit. I
Hmm.
can't remember where we ended up with her, but I think she was one of both of our favorites
Yeah.
that we mentioned,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And she's creeping up higher and higher every time I watch this.
right?
Like every she's such a good actress too. Like I just kind of like look at her. It's like very beautiful. Like she's so gorgeous and her body is so good. But like every line she delivers is gold.
Yep.
like in that scene in the bed, all of the lines, like, man, this girl could be like an Academy Award winning, like, and she's so funny too. And when we first meet her in Holland, she has like blonde hair, like I think she has like long pigtails, and she's walking away. It looks like she's almost naked,
Yeah,
and she
I
says,
didn't
"Help me!"
notice the hair. Bond noticed the
Yeah,
hair, but you know, she's basically
yeah,
naked, like coming in and out
yeah.
of this room, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. All the sexy outfits she has on in this movie. Every time like she comes back to the room, she has a different wig on, different hairdo, and she turns out to be a redhead. In the novel, she was a blonde, but
Hmm.
in the movie, she's another redhead. That's three redheads in a row for Connery. But but she comes in and he says, "Well, I usually don't like redheads, terrible tempers, but somehow it suits you." Yeah, it's my own. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you're forgetting before that when she was coming
Uh,
in and out, he said, "Oh, that's a lovely, lovely little nothing you're almost wearing."
yeah, I approve. Yeah, I love it. I just love the dialogue in this, all the little one-liners. Yeah, and then yeah, and she's so funny at the end. Like Blofeld has her captured, but she kind of like just sort of like is in no big peril, kind of like how Tracy was. Like she just gets to roam around and do whatever she wants. Hey, Ernst, what's
Well, she's
she
so
just out there
informal,
laugh.
right? Like that's the other thing. The
Yeah,
American girl is, of
yeah,
course, like super
yeah,
informal compared to all these
yeah,
European women he's encountered before who are so
yeah.
prim and proper.
And the scene where she stopped Dr. Metz from leaving so Bond could sneak in the back of his Ford van there.
Yep.
That was so cute. She's so spunky and hilarious. She pulls up in front of him and says, "Hey, Charlie, where's my stamps? Oh, you haven't even got any gas yet. Well, pump in a few gallons." Like she's so bossy, and then the guy's honking, "Move it, lady, move it." So keep leaning on that tutor, Charlie. You're gonna get a shot in the mouth.
Yeah. Could you imagine Diana Rigg saying that?
Oh no way, no. Oh, she's so funny. And then I noticed a lot of I didn't notice until this viewing. Like I love this movie so much, and I love that circus scene. But Bond is not even in it. It's all centered around Tiffany. I didn't really notice that till this time. Like that whole scene where the CIA, the bumbling CIA, is trying to catch her and they fail. That whole wacky scene throughout Circus is all just like she's the center of attention for like a good chunk of the movie. She outsmarts all of the bumbling CIA agents.
Yep. Well, it's so funny, right? Shortly thereafter, when
Yeah,
uh they've essentially have her under house arrest, right? And
yeah,
Felix and the CIA are keeping a watch over their
yeah,
suite or whatever. They blocked all the
yeah.
exits, and she
Hmm.
says after Felix leaves, she says to Bond, "Well, that's a change." And says, "What do you mean?" The the wolf being guarded by the three little pigs.
Yeah.
You can tell that was
Oh, I
Guy
love.
Hamilton 100%, right? Like,
Oh, I know. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah. Heck yeah. Anything else about our wonderful girl Tiffany or Jill St. John before we move on? Because I got a transition for that.
she definitely just makes this movie. I think she's like the glue that
Yeah.
holds this whole movie together. I don't think this movie would have worked without her, honestly.
Yeah.
Having a
Yeah.
leading lady who is can deliver humor and
Yeah.
puns and
Hmm.
also be you know,
Yeah.
strong like she is at the gas station scene and stuff. Like she pulls it
Yeah.
all off. Like she's such a good actress in
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there was ever a girl like her before, and not one ever since. Just like
Yeah,
this movie, there's never been a Bond movie like this.
right. Well, I
Yeah,
would say it's
yeah.
clearly an inspiration for Austin Powers, right? Like that
Oh yes,
there's
yes,
definitely like this had to have influenced Austin Powers.
yeah, absolutely. but but while we're talking about that jab at the CIA right there, we have Bond's allies and this are his buddies on his side, and Felix Leiter there, who's like a bumbling fool in this. But remember, I said this is my favorite Felix. Like all I hear are people trashing this guy, like, oh, he's stiff in wood, and like, how is he stiff in wood? And like, this is the funniest Felix Leiter. He's like a bumbling, fussy, like a buffoon, and he always has funny lines in this. Like he's a bumbling buffoon, and all of his agents are buffoons.
Yep.
But he's like my favorite Felix, just because he seems like he has more going on. Like everyone likes. I like Jack Lord and Rick Van Nutter and Cease Linder and all of them, but none of them I don't see any of them doing like saying all these, like none of them had funny lines like this, and it was like this had this many lines and was this big of a part of the movie. Is I don't know, that's just me, but I thought this guy was hilarious.
Well, David is pretty funny in Live and Let Die, right? Like,
Yeah, oh, him too. Yeah, that was this. Yeah, so that was more of the same in that. That was after this, so that's probably more of that Guy Hamilton Mankiewicz stuff.
right.
Yeah,
And when
yeah,
we
but I mean
talked
the
about
guys.
lighters, right? That was the one that came up.
Yeah,
He was my favorite. Was
yeah,
because of Live and
yeah,
Let Die and License to Kill.
yeah. David Hedison. Yeah,
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 but
but I mean up until up
yeah,
until this point, I mean, yeah,
right, right. Felix was never
yeah,
this funny. I'll give you that.
yeah. Like like do me a favor, James. Next time you pick a contact, do it when you're standing up. Relax. I got 50 guys down there. Relax. A mouse with sneakers couldn't get in there. Oh, and then well, Willard White's about to get executed, and look who's giving breaststroke lessons.
Yeah, you know why he said breaststroke too. Of
Yeah,
all
no
the
kidding. Yeah.
strokes.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. But other than that, we have the usuals. We have M, and we get that first scene where they're with this with Sir Donald. M is there looking at all the diamonds. They all have a special name, and of course Bond knows the names of all of them. And he's and he knows the original year of which the vintage is based, of the sherry, which doesn't have a year or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But we have
And M is
that
so mad about
funny
it.
little.
He's so angry. Because he's the one that says
Yeah.
Sherry doesn't have a year 007, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then he one ups him with, "Oh, I was referring to
Yeah.
the vintage of or the year that the
Yeah.
vintage was based on."
1853. Unmistakable. And it's all precisely. But this is I didn't mention it before, but I love the editing and scene that goes from the briefing with Sir Donald about diamonds and talking about diamonds and diamond smuggling, but then it kind of it transitions into the actual uh, thievery of the diamonds through the dentist, and
Right.
as he's giving the briefing, and then it goes to Ken and Wint cutting off the loose ends, and then it goes back to the briefing. I thought that was a cool bit of editing. What about you?
Oh yeah, no, I thought the editing was great, for sure. And it's funny too, right? Because
Yeah,
this was obviously a callback to Goldfinger, the setup
yeah,
with
yeah,
the
yeah. This,
yeah, meeting the
yeah,
colonel, or
the
meeting
yeah
what
the
was his
Colonel
name? Yeah,
Colonel Smithers.
Colonel
Yeah,
Smithers. Yeah,
the yeah, yeah, very similar. Yeah, that's another thing. Like this has a Goldfinger vibe to it, like
yep,
something straight out of Goldfinger. Yeah, and then yeah, good point. And then Moneypenny is not in her office, but we do get to see her and she has that little uniform, the customs office, so we get to
right,
see her briefly. So that was
yep,
pretty cool. And then I guess Q is in it, but he just sort of shows up in Vegas with that little voice contraption that similar to what Blofeld has, where Bond can talk like Bert Saxby, like
Right.
he can talk to Blofeld. Hey, I just saw James Bond in the casino. If this guy's uh, if this guy's the legend that he claims to be, we're in for big trouble. He's like, never mind about James Bond, but
Right.
stroking his ego. I just don't want to mess with a guy as tough as James Bond. But Q was there, and then he has his. And then, of course, Q has his. When Tiffany Case is making sure it's Peter Franks, she takes his fingerprint off of his glass and checks it on. He has some bit of tech, some gadgets back there. She checks for his fingerprints, and Q had given him a fake peel off a fingerprint.
Yep.
That
This
was
is
pretty
actually
cool.
kind of cool, right? Because they did that the way that Guy Hamilton was planning to do the car reveal, right? With all the gadgets and Goldfinger. And
Yeah, yeah.
that was what he was going to do, right? He was not going to show the audience all of the
Oh,
gadgets
right.
first.
Yes.
He was going to
Yeah.
just have it happen, and then,
Yeah.
they would discover it as it went, and that's
Yeah.
exactly what happened with the fingerprint.
Yes.
He's talking to Q
Right.
later,
Yeah,
like,
you're
"Oh, I
right.
got to hand it to you, Q. Quite
Yeah.
ingenious."
Yes. Oh, it's nothing really. Oh, by the way, that Peter Franks fellow just escaped. Hello, are you there? Oh. But I don't know if you noticed it. You noticed that the Aston Martin was back there from Boeing's MSS. Did you see it? When
I-
he was on the phone, did you see it back there?
oh, yeah, the Aston Martin was behind him. Yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah.
But that was cool,
Yeah.
right, to get it into the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we get the cool car chase with the Mustang, but we do get a little glimpse of the Aston Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I guess the other buddy in this, and I think this guy's hilarious. I forgot there was like serious, like sort of hick-like character before Sheriff J.W. and
Right.
Willard White. When we finally meet him, he is played by Jimmy Dean, and he's hilarious. Like every single line he has is hilarious.
Yep.
And I wasn't really familiar with Jimmy Dean. I know he was like a country music. He's like a performer.
Yeah.
And I remember him when I was a kid. He had a line of sausage. I remember he'd be on television like, "Wow, my Jimmy Dean sausage." But oh man, but he is hilarious in this. What do you think of Willard White?
Yeah, he's fantastic, right? He's a really funny
Yeah,
character. Jimmy Dean plays him so well. He does the voiceover work is
yeah,
perfect with Blofeld.
yeah,
Like it
yes, yeah,
really like the editing they did on the voiceover was
yeah,
fantastic, I thought.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then oh yeah, Baja. I haven't got anything in Baja.
Right?
And then I liked when Bert Saxby was trying to snipe him, and then the
Yep.
CIA shot Bert, and Bert rolls down the hill, and then Bond says Saxby. And he says, Bert Saxby? Yeah. Well, tell him he's fired. And then Bond gives him that look.
Yep, yep. It was so funny. It was so funny.
One of our missiles just accidentally blew up in North Dakota. Yeah, every line he says is hilarious. But I guess we'll get onto the villains, and there's quite an ensemble of villains in this. And man, there's just like a whole chain of villains in this. The big one's Blofeld, obviously Ernst Stavro Blofeld on his like third like big reveal in this. But we have quite a few little minor villains in this, and I think they're all funny. Every down to the dentist, Dr. Tynan, that's having the workers steal the diamonds for him, and
Yep.
all the way to Shady Tree with his acorns. Like that guy's hilarious. I guess he was a real Vegas performer. They got to do that part.
You
And
know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Jimmy Durante from the old
oh yeah,
movies. You remember him?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like an
He
old
does look
guy
like him. Yeah.
who's like, chasing after all the young women and, doing all the jokes
Yes.
and
Yeah.
things.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar character.
You dirty double crossing lime, you fake diamond, goddamn diamonds are phonies. And then Morton Slumber there. The guy that I thought that's a hilarious name for a guy that runs a mortuary, Morton Slumber.
Oh, of course. That's hilarious. And then he does the whole spiel, right, where he's like, laying to the eternal rest and, just ushering Bond through like he actually is the brother of this guy that they're going to burn the body, cremate.
Go through the whole spiel, it's funny. And I guess and either his death scene got cut, or maybe he was a higher Spectre agent that wouldn't get killed. It just was weird that he never got killed.
Well, and then, I mean, could you imagine having to watch Morton Slumber die? It would have been so sad, like of all the people they killed,
I think they should have thrown him in there into the
thing.
Yeah.
Sent him to eternal rest. There could have been a lot of puns. Ashes to ashes.
Right.
Dust to dust.
And then, and then I guess one of my favorite fights in this movie, Peter Frank's, that little tiny fight in that little tiny elevator with all the glass.
Oh yeah,
I love that fight scene. Peter Frank's like big tough dude. That's the guy. That's the guy I was saying is Sean Connery's judo instructor, and he's probably like over 200 pounds, like 6'3". Sean Connery's a big guy too. He was probably over 200 pounds in this. Those two big guys fighting in that tiny elevator, shattering all of the glass on the side. I love that scene. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's the best action scene in the movie. Probably, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a better fight in this movie? I don't think there is.
Yeah. And for how hilarious, how silly and lighthearted this movie is, that's probably like the most hard hitting, like darkest, like serious moment. What do you think? Other than the fire extinguisher in the face, like all leading up to that was pretty intense.
It's pretty brutal in the elevator. I love the way they filmed it with the elevator going up and down, using the environment, right? Like Bond was about to get his head chopped off by the elevator, if he hadn't moved in time.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So and then they kept it funny, right? Because he kills the guy.
Mm-hmm.
The guy falls off the edge of the ledge, and Tiffany's comes out and she's like, "Oh my God, did you kill him? Or like, is he dead?" And Bond says, "I sincerely hope so."
I love you. This stuff's been following me all day today.
Such a brutal fight, you could tell Bond was pissed by the end of it. Like,
just so tight in there. Those big dudes just like they can't like even wind up for a punch or anything. They're just hitting the sides and breaking the glass.
Right.
And then so I thought that for like him not being in the movie, he was a big part of it because Bond overtook his identity for most of the movie. So I always liked Peter Franks.
Yep.
And then I guess we have Burt Saxby, which is like an old classic actor that was in a lot of like John Wayne movies to play Willard White's top guy. He was kind of like a turncoat, like he defected to Blofeld, like kind of a shady guy.
Right.
But we had what's his name? Burt Saxby. Yeah, and I didn't realize that was the guy from King Kong, like the original King Kong. Did you know that?
No. Burt Saxby?
That actor. Yeah, Bruce Cabot's his name. He was from the original King Kong.
Was he the lead?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or what's his name? What's his name? Jack Driscoll? No, what's his name?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he was the lead. I didn't realize that until like they were talking about that in the commentary.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he had a cool scene cut where he talks to Sammy Davis Jr. Did you see that?
No, I missed that. That's very cool, though.
It was because
cool. Sammy would have been there at that time, probably, right, in Vegas.
Yeah. Oh, but they're in the casino and he's gambling, and Burt Saxby walks up to Sammy Davis and says, "Hey, baby, how you doing, Sammy? You gonna renew that contract with the casino or whatever?" And he goes, "Yeah, man, I just got to see the money first. I got to talk to Willard White. I can't even get a hold of the man. You got to talk to him, Burt," or something like that. And then when they're talking Bert looks up and says, "Well, you look at that," and here comes Sean Connery walking into the casino with his suit on.
Yep.
And then Sammy Davis Jr. like takes his glasses off and goes, "Well, you look at that. There ain't no cake big enough to put him on." like he's a wedding decoration. He looked like so out of place in the casino.
Nice.
Yeah, but this had some fun deleted scenes in there. And then oh man, there's so many more villains we got to talk to. There's some big ones coming up. Well, first there's Dr. Metz, and I think he has some hilarious lines. The little German scientist that builds the laser.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Bud sneaks in there, Klaus Sugarsheimer, G-section. I think that's like, I know we say "Die, live and let die." That's the funniest scene in all Bond movies, that chase scene. But
Right.
I think this is second. This whole scene going to that facility, Klaus Sugarsheimer and Dr. Metz.
Right.
He saw, "Will you please leave, you irritate?" I like that line. "Will you please leave, you irritating man?" So, "Doctor, there's no reason to run down us little people. G-section might not be as important to the operation as you are, but we have our orders." Tell them we surrender. This is mad. Dr. Metz,
Yeah,
one more
right.
word from you and I'll have you stop. I just love every line in this movie. But we get Metz, and then okay, so I guess the big ones in this, before we get to them, like there's two wonderful duos in this that are so iconic and memorable. Let's talk about Bambi and Thumper. What do you think of them?
Right. It's interesting, right,
Yeah.
that there are two sets of villains in this film that are buddies, right?
Yeah.
You've got Wind and Kid and Bambi
Yeah.
and Thumper. It's and I don't know if they just
Yeah.
thought it was more fun to do that. It's silly, right? It sort of adds to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, Bambi and Thumper are a little more athletic than Wind and Kid, you know, with their
Yeah.
acrobatics. So yeah, they're fun. You know, it's interesting. Bambi and Thumper are
Yeah.
only in the movie for what, maybe 2-3 minutes. They're barely in this movie, but they
Yes.
definitely leave
Yeah.
an impression.
Yeah, especially Thumper, like she's hamming it up and making all those faces, and
Yep.
she I think she's the only one that speaks too. She walks up, your first Bambi's there. She like cartwheels over. "I'm Bambi," and then Bond's all happy, like, "Oh, nice to meet you, Bambi." And then he walks by, there's Thumper, and she goes, "I'm Thumper." And then he grabs her hand and helps her down. He says, "Anything we can help you with?" "Well, I can think of several things. But right now, I'm looking for Willard White." She's, "Oh, Willie. Uh, we'll talk to him later, but first we're gonna have a ball." And then she kicks him in the nuts.
Yep.
She knees him in the nuts, and then these two girls beat the shit out of Sean Connery. It's almost like their acrobatics, like they've incorporated like fighting into their like acrobatics, like they're doing cartwheels and they're doing like karate kicks.
Right.
and the one girl's using her thighs like to choke him, like she's
Yeah.
hanging from the chandelier.
Yeah, Bambi's choking him
I
from
think
the
it's
chandelier.
hilarious.
Yeah, it is so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
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 It's the funniest, you know, fight scene in the movie for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get that same music again, the Peter Franks fight and the Blofeld fight at the beginning. I like that little music cue right there when they throw him out into the pool. But then of course, like Bond, he he just holds their heads underwater
Yep.
after they were giving up a big. They were putting a good fight up on solid ground, but then when they're in the water, he just like, these are just two little like 90-pound girls. I just hold their heads underwater.
Yep. It was so ridiculous to think that these acrobatic women couldn't outswim him. You know, like that, like two of them.
Yeah, I know.
There's like no way this would have happened. You know, but it is
I
funny.
know.
You know.
And then I guess before we get to Blofeld, these guys are like some of my favorite henchmen in the whole series, like up there almost with like Jaws and Blofeld. we got Kid and Wint. What just such a silly pairing of these two weird guys that are really contrast to each other. They seem like they fit together so well, and they're assassins killing every link in the diamond smuggling chain here.
Yep.
And they almost seem like Batman villains or something.
Right.
They go back and forth with their funny little lines. They work perfect for the tone of this movie, but I think they would work in any Bond movie just if they were the comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Wint and Kid?
Yeah, I agree. I think that they were, they're sort of like James Bond in a way as a villain
Yeah,
because they're making puns
yeah,
about like every kill they
yes,
make. They're making these
yeah,
silly jabs at
yeah,
they're just sort of
yeah,
roasting every scene they're in.
yeah,
And it's funny
yeah,
because they're talking to each other back and forth and but just the tone that they
yeah,
have is like it's you could tell it's like very playful with the audience. It's not fourth wall breaking,
yes,
but it's close.
yeah,
Like
yeah. It is, yeah.
so I appreciate it. I think it
The-
adds to the humor of the
yeah,
movie and
yeah,
yeah, like we said before, the plot's a little strange. We're not even quite sure, if they who all they killed or
hmm,
didn't kill. But
yeah,
um I think after talking to you and watching the movie again, I think it was just Blofeld, like you said, trying to tie up loose ends and
hmm,
reduce any uh he didn't do it quick enough, right? Because Bond was already there and
yeah,
became Peter Frank.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if he had just been a little quicker about it, the trail would have gone cold.
And funny you should mention like they are like the villain version of James Bond, uh, because they have their own themes, and I love their theme
Yeah,
song. It's like a
right.
creepy gay version of the James Bond song. It's
It totally
like I love
is.
that they're not. I think they're the only henchman that has their own theme song. That boom 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 boom
Yep.
da 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 da.
It
I just
is.
love that
Yeah.
song. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Mr. Oh, did you know that was McFly's dad? His name is Julian Glover. He's Crispin Glover's dad,
Oh my
Mr.
God.
Wint. Did
That
you know
makes
that?
so much sense. I mean, he looks so
Yeah,
familiar to me. Yeah, I
yeah,
can see that. I can perfectly see that. That's crazy.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And he plays the part so good. Like that's an underrated actor. Like he could be a villain in a movie. That
Oh
guy.
yeah, he could have been a straight
Um,
up Bond villain himself, I think.
yeah,
You know,
or a Batman villain or something.
right?
And then the other guy, I guess he was just the other guy was just a musician and who actually played with Shirley Bassey and before like he performed. The Mr. Kid was just a musician, and I don't know if one of
Ah.
the writers or producers saw like that guy looks weird. Let's have him be. He has that weird James Bond character look. Let's have him be.
Right?
Let's have him be a villain. But so that guy's not even an actor, but I like the contrast. How he just seems like a normal guy,
Right?
and the other guy seems like a weird like Batman villain.
I thought that
Yeah,
he
yeah,
he looked like a hippie kind of with the long hair and the facial
yeah,
hair and
yeah,
all that.
yeah. He does. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like such an odd person to work
Oh,
for Blofeld, but maybe that's part of the thing is like Blofeld is everywhere, right?
yeah,
Spectre is everywhere, even
yeah,
in the hippie
yeah,
community. Like
yeah,
even in the gay
yeah,
community,
yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and that part's so funny when they're on the hovercraft and they're looking through the curtain and they see Bond and Tiffany both on the craft, and then
Right.
he goes and sits down back next to Mr. Wint and he says, "Well, they're both aboard. I must admit, Miss Case seems quite attractive." And then Mr. Wint looks at him kind of mad for
Yep.
a lady.
And then he laughs like that's that creepy laugh. It's so funny.
Well, Mr. Wind is there like putting his perfume on or his cologne.
Yep, yep.
Okay, but before we talk about their demise, I guess we can talk about that at the end. We got to talk about the biggie. I know you've been wanting to talk about him, Charles Gray
Oh
as
yeah.
Ernst Stavro. Charles Gray as Ernst Stavro Blofeld. Like I said, he was always my favorite until I kind of started leaning more into On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Mm-hmm.
But as a kid, like this was the first time I saw Blofeld, and I go, "Oh, this guy's hilarious!" And he's just like a like this prissy, posh, fussy villain. Like he's
Right.
just like so classic. I just love him. What do you think about Charles Gray as Blofeld?
Well, he was so good in You Only Live Twice as Mr.
Yeah.
Henderson. And
Hmm.
you can see what after that performance, like it was really easy for them to be like, we got to bring this guy back,
Oh yeah.
and he's great. It's
Hmm.
as an English version of Blofeld again. I
Yeah.
love Donald Pleasance and Telly Savalas, but Charles Gray is so
Yeah.
different from both. They're
Yeah.
all. This is what's so great about Blofeld. Every actor who's played Blofeld is so different. Their
Yeah.
styles are completely different. They don't try to be like each other at all, right? Each
No. No. Yeah.
each each actor has brought something totally different to the character,
Hmm.
I feel, and
Yeah.
Charles Gray obviously is the funniest one by far.
Oh
So,
yes.
you gotta love him because the whole
Yeah.
scheme with the voice changing. It's
Yeah.
hilarious to see this prissy Englishman with a southern
Yeah.
accent, with Jimmy Dean's
Yeah.
voiceover. Like it's just so
Yeah.
ridiculous and hilarious
Yeah.
to watch. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, and I was gonna say he has like my favorite Blofeld lines, like "Good evening, Mr. Bond," and "Good evening, 007," and what was it? Oh, what a pity, such nice cheeks too. If only they were brains. And and what else? Like what he's talking about? Oh, the satellite's over Kansas now. If we blow it up, no one would notice.
Yep.
Or he would say everything he says is hilarious.
Yep. Everything. And when he's
Yeah,
Willard White right at the beginning, when Bond gets into his penthouse, falls on the toilet,
yeah,
and he says,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
makes him remove his
Howdy,
gun.
son.
And he's like, "Oh, if you got
Yeah,
any personal business you need to attend to, you go right ahead."
yeah. You know what? I was giving that a thought. You know, like the line everyone associates with Bond villains. I've been expecting you, Mr. Bond. Like
Right.
I know maybe a couple have said it. I know that's like the trope. Like that's what the Bond villain says. I've been expecting you, James Bond. But the
Right.
only time I can ever really remember is Stromberg says it. And he says it right there is Jimmy Dean, like, howdy, son, we've been expecting you.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the whole cloning was a cool. I was thinking, maybe do you think maybe they were trying to explore it or like expand that into more movies, like have clones of Blofeld everywhere? Or do you think that was just a one and done thing,
Well, I think it
like
was a
having
it was,
plastics?
yeah, it was a backup idea, right? Because they could have easily said like,
Yeah,
"Oh, there was just another one." Right? It was
yeah,
and it's kind of unfortunate that they didn't explore that
yeah,
further because after this film,
yeah,
you don't the next time you see Blofeld, he's in a wheelchair at the beginning
yeah,
of For Your Eyes Only
yeah,
in
yeah.
in
And
the
that one kind,
cast.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And that one kind of feels like it more takes place right after OHMSS. What do you think? Like that's the one because he's right
Right.
at Tracy's grave. He's at Tracy's
Hmm.
grave, and then Blofeld kid captures him, and he has a neck brace on, like at the end of OHMSS.
Yep.
I guess he could have had a neck brace on from being smashed around in the Batho sub, but
Right. But it
yeah,
seems you don't know, I guess, yeah, because you don't see him
yeah,
after the sub thing. The implication
yeah,
is that he's been captured at the end of Diamonds, though, right? Because
yeah,
he doesn't actually, or you think he's dead because the tanker blows
yeah,
up, or the
yeah.
oil rig blows up.
Yeah, I guess we can get into the ending now. It's very unclear. and I think the one weak part about this movie is the ending. It doesn't have the same like level of like epicness as OHMSS Raid on Peace Gloria,
Right.
even though it should because there's all these helicopters and they're shooting missiles and machine guns and there's guys down there with 50 cal shooting and Bond's climbing around underneath the rig like it should, but something about it doesn't feel quite epic like the last ones.
Yep.
And you're not even clear if Blofeld's dead or not. What do you think about the ending?
Yeah, I mean it's funny, right, with
Yeah,
how he escapes, because
yeah,
here
yeah,
this movie comes right after OHMSS. Bond has escaped
yeah,
from this extremely exotic room that is the
mm,
control room for the
yeah,
gondolas, right? Or
yeah,
on top of the mountain. He gets out of
yeah,
that, escapes, and
yeah,
gets away from Blofeld. And yet here Blofeld puts him in a room with a giant hole
yeah,
in the
yeah,
floor and thinks that he's not going to escape, like it's
yeah, yeah,
it was so much easier for him to escape
yeah,
this oil rig than it was to
yeah,
escape Piz Gloria. It's not even funny.
mhm,
Like
yeah. And it's a cool stunt. Like the guy's crawling around on the cables, and there's like explosions and
right.
bullets bouncing off all around him. But it doesn't quite have that. Even of that escape scene from Our Majesties, it's just not as photogenic or something.
No.
And I don't. Yeah, it just doesn't seem as exciting as the last one. I mean, but I do like it, and I do. There is kind of like a kind of a reference to the novels in this when he sneaks up and then he gets on the crane and overtakes the Bathos sub when Blofeld's okay, lower away. He's ordering the crane operator to lower the Bathos sub, and then Bond throws that guy off, and then he gets on the crane and he's swinging Blofeld around and crashing him into the control room. But I guess that's a pretty cool way to take out the countdown and Blofeld all in one swoop, but on paper. But I like how that's kind of from Doctor No, the novel, where he. I don't want to. Oh crap! I don't want to give away how he kills Doctor No, but he does sneak out of. You remember he was in the tunnels and all that, and the heat and all that.
Mm-hmm.
He sneaks out of there, and he gets in a crane, and he does something with a crane to Doctor No. So I
Okay.
think that is kind of like a little throwback to the Doctor No. So I do like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, but I think it's something about it, and then like there's a bunch of cool explosions and all that, and it's a pretty cool stunt. But something about it doesn't hit as hard for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's a little
And I know,
anticlimactic,
yeah,
right? Because in the last
yeah,
film, right, he had that fist fight on the bobsled with him at the end.
yeah,
It's like so much more
yeah,
intense than this is,
okay, yeah,
and that's part
yeah,
of why
and
it feels a little
yeah,
weak.
yeah, and you know what? They did have something planned, and it'd have been so awesome. Did you hear about that?
No, what was it?
They were gonna have Bond attach a weather balloon to his Bathos sub and fly behind him, and then they'd end up
Oh,
in Mexico or something. They ended up in Mexico at like a salt mine,
mm-hmm.
and they're gonna be fighting in like a salt quarry or something, and he gets ground up at the end or something.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been way more
Yeah, like
intense.
yeah,
But
yeah.
here's the issue,
That would
right?
have been pretty cool.
This is the problem because can you
Yeah,
imagine Charles Gray fighting Sean Connery? Like Connery would sneeze on Charles Gray and he'd
no,
fall over, right?
yeah,
Like it's no one
yeah,
was gonna buy that.
yeah. Yeah, just like, and he's like a big guy, and he seems built well, but he just seems so prissy. After Bond was like taking out Peter Franks and
Right?
and all these guys, like
I
it
mean,
doesn't.
remember right at the
Yeah,
beginning, right? He
yeah,
hits like
yeah,
Blofeld's guys are taken out, and he hits
yeah, yeah,
Blofeld with
yeah,
like a backhand or something and
yeah,
knocks him out, right?
yeah,
Like right away. It's
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, he pretty much just moves out of the way of his machete and just like slams him down or
yeah.
something. Like with one hit. Yeah, but I mean, it's a cool ending, and I like Jill St. John's being silly as ever in there. She's trying to shoot the machine gun, and it just knocks her off the edge.
She falls off of it.
Oh,
It's so good.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and also I forgot to mention they're playing the 007 theme from Russia with Love. That
Right.
Dun, 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 dun. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as I think I love the movie, but it just kind of anticlimactic for me.
Right. Well,
Something about it, that last scene. But yeah,
I was gonna say it does have the best countdown dude in the whole series, though, right? The guy who
yes,
does
yes, yes.
10
5
minutes
minutes. I'm
and
done.
counting.
Oh yes, I love that guy. Yeah,
Which they
yeah. And
directly
if you,
copied in Austin Powers, right? The Austin Powers
yeah,
countdown
yes,
guy was absolutely, it was like
yes,
the same
yeah,
guy.
yeah. Yeah, the countdown guy. I gotta shout him out. I did notice he was in Met's lab at the facility when they were taking
Hmm.
the diamonds out of the dog.
Right.
I did notice he was there. That guy. 10 seconds and counting. Yeah, what a great voice.
So good.
But I guess as mediocre as that was, I think it makes up for it in the final extra bonus scene.
Yep.
And this is a Guy Hamilton movie, so every time there's Guy Hamilton, you get a special extra henchman fight scene at the end.
Right.
I love that. What do you think about the last scene? And it's kind of and we get a scene in the cool. They're on an ocean liner heading back to England, and they're in that awesome room. I'm sure it's
Right.
fake. I'm sure it's a Ken Adams set, but how awesome is that room? Like they have a bed with a balcony, like looking at the ocean,
Yeah.
and they're
It's
just chilling,
great.
chilling out. Yeah, chilling out there, and they're cuddling up, and I think they're trying to take a little jab at Majesty's, like Bond's gonna get married again because she's gonna ask him something important. Like in a relationship like ours, it's usually the man to ask, but I would have to ask you, and please think before you answer. Like, oh, is Bond gonna get married again?
Right.
And then before she can ask the question, here comes the two guys in with a cake, and who are they? They're Kid and Wint, and he's never seen them before, so he doesn't know who they are. They come in, like caterers. What do you think about this final extra bonus scene?
I mean, it's hilarious, right? Because
Yes, oh,
they're,
yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
even Mr. Wynn looks at the screen, right? When he's
yeah,
putting what was it, the thing in the cork to pop the
yeah,
cork, like the screw.
yeah,
He's put it in, but you think
yeah,
he looks right at the screen, right? And you think he's gonna stab
yeah,
Sean. It's almost a fourth wall
yeah,
break. Like
yes,
it's
yeah, yeah. He stabs the cork. Yeah,
yeah, he
the
looks
cork
right at the camera as
remover.
he does it. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
Like just this
yeah, I
pause
love it.
moment. Like,
Yeah, yes, and what does he say? What I was hoping for a certain kind of wine. What was it? Like
a
he
claret.
A claret, yeah, and he says, unfortunately, our cellars are is dry of that of clarets, and then he says, oh, this type of wine is a claret, and I've smelt that aftershave before, and both times I smelt a rat. Um, and then this is like kind of like the most gruesome, darkest scene in the movie. That Mr. Wint like wraps like a chain around Sean's neck, and then Tiffany just sits there and says "ee" and gets flipped. But then Mr. Wint has shish kebabs and they're on fire. What are those? He has like shish kebabs on fire,
Yeah.
and he brings them up. He brings them up to Bond. And he's gonna burn them, but then Bond like breaks the champagne and throws it, and then it goes on to Kid's arms, and he catches on fire, and he's like,
Yep. He's like instantly
uh,
on fire, his whole torso. And he's
yeah,
freaking out, running around, and finally falls
yeah,
off the edge of the boat.
yeah, yeah. And then I guess that was really that actor that had that or got caught on fire. Like
Wow,
they had it all controlled.
that's awesome.
I don't know if I don't know about the part when he's totally consumed, but I know when his arms were on fire,
Hmm.
that was really the actor. And then what's his name sees his lover dying, and he doesn't really seem to care about it. He's still trying to choke Bond, and I think he wants Bond to be his new lover because he's really getting off on what.
You're right.
Yeah, but Tiffany, bless her heart, finally tries to do something she throws the cake at him, and inside the cake is a time bomb that's about to go off, and then Mr. Wint and Bond are scuffling, and then he grabs. What does he grab the bomb and he pulls his hands between his legs, and then he like shoves the bomb up his butt, or what's he doing?
Yeah, it's like he basically gives him
Yeah,
a wedgie, right, with the bomb,
yeah,
with his own
yeah,
arms. But Wind is
and
obviously enjoying it,
yeah.
so
Ooh.
it was so bizarre. It was like that. Who would have
uh,
thought they would see something like this in a James Bond movie,
I
right?
know,
Like,
no kidding. Yeah, from
where like
1971.
softcore gay porn, like.
Ooh. Oh, it's so funny. And then so he throws Mr. Wint off, and he blows up before he hits the water outside of the ship.
I thought that was pretty cool
Well,
that he blows up
yeah,
midair. Like, it's kind of awesome.
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Well, he certainly left with his tails tucked between his legs. and
Yep. Then
and this scene,
Tiffany comes up to
yeah.
him,
Oh,
right?
James.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she finally gets to ask her question. She looks up at the stars and says, "How are we going to get those diamonds down?"
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
satellite's still in orbit.
Yep. Yeah. 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 Her mind's still on the diamonds. Bless her heart.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the last time we see Bond in the official production. There is Sean Connery, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool that Die Another Day, the theme with Die Another Day, or the
Yes.
is also diamonds, right? Like diamonds are a huge
Yes.
part of Die Another Day.
Yeah. Almost
And
the same type of
yeah,
plot, right?
similar
Yeah.
plot, right, with the laser
Yeah.
weapon and everything, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the main villain is doing plastic surgery, exotic surgery to
Yes.
change their
Yes.
face.
Oh,
Like,
right.
there's a lot of
Yes.
similarities, and it's also Die Another Day. Aside from Diamonds, is probably the funniest movie in the franchise.
Yes.
No, you're good.
Yeah, and and also we have an American girl as the Bond girl in that movie. And I
Right.
guess she's kind of spunky. She's kind of like the closest thing to Tiffany Case, only if Tiffany Case could fight.
Yeah, if Tiffany Case was a CIA
Yeah,
agent and awesome, right?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Die Another Day, because yeah, there was a lot of similarities. All they needed was some gay henchmen. But I was gonna say this ending is in the novel. Like they're on the cruise ship back to England, and Kid and Wint are on there, but it's a lot darker. Like they kidnap Tiffany and they put her in a room and they strip her down. I forget if she's naked or in her underwear, but they have her tied up in there, and they're in there playing cards, and they're really like some creepy like thuggy gangster guys. And Bond crawls around on the outside of the ship and swings in the window and has a fight with them. So this is kind of something from the novel.
That's awesome. I forgot to mention too, it was very cool when Bond takes the elevator outside of the building up to the penthouse, up to Willard
Yeah,
White's penthouse, right?
yeah,
And he
yeah.
does
That's a cool
that,
scene. Yeah,
he uses that awesome grappling hook to do the midair
yeah,
climb. And
yeah. It was almost like a Batman. Yeah,
yeah, it's like a Batman type move.
yeah,
He's got to use his.
yeah,
Well, he didn't use his shoelace to do the climb, right? Didn't he have something else?
yeah.
But it was that same
Oh
thing
no,
where
I
he's
think.
like he's just free
Yeah,
hanging, right? Like Roger Moore was in
yeah,
For Your Eyes Only
yeah,
later.
yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
yeah. I like that. I like that whole scene where he sneaks out and he has this like that's like you always like the stereotype is Bond is always in the suit and he's doing action or sneaky stuff.
Right,
Like that's like in this movie, like he's sneaking on the outside of the building on an elevator. He has his suit on with a flower and the bow tie,
right,
and he's
right.
climbing around doing Batman stuff on the outside of the building.
Well, it reminds me too of License to Kill when he's doing
Yeah,
the climbing outside the building,
yeah,
trying to get
yeah,
to set the bomb for
yes,
Scaramanga.
yes.
Yeah.
And did you notice there was a little music cue kind of similar at that scene?
Yes, yes, it is. It's
No,
sort of
that's really
playful,
cool.
right? It's like
Yeah,
very
yeah,
quiet but playful. Yeah.
yeah.
It
There was that music cue. Yeah, I noticed that, and it wasn't even John Barry. That was Michael Kamen that did. the Die Hard movie
Mm-hmm.
did that, but it kind of had that throwback to that John Barry music on the top of the building.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's very cool. It's very cool. I
Mm.
love climbing. You know, I did a little rock climbing in college and
Oh, right on.
a few times
Oh,
after
right
that,
on.
you know. So it's like whenever Bond is climbing,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome, you know.
Oh, heck yeah, yeah. I love it. So I guess we're coming to an end now. What about has your opinion changed on this? You like it more? You like it less? So what do you think about Diamonds Are Forever after your our most recent viewing?
I think I like it a lot more because I don't know if it was partially it was the Blu-ray, partially it was, you know, your thing right at the beginning.
Yeah,
Just thinking of it as a direct sequel to You Only Live Twice makes it way more entertaining for me.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm always gonna
yeah.
watch it now. I think with that in mind, you know. In fact,
Oh, right
if I was
on.
gonna watch the
Yeah,
series again, I think I would watch Diamonds right after You Only Live Twice, and then I'd probably watch Majesties after that.
yeah,
You know, because it makes way
yeah,
more sense to do that, and then have Live and Let Die be the film right after Majesties. Also
yeah,
because Live and Let Die is one of the most violent films in the franchise, so it makes perfect sense that,
yeah.
you know, like Bond is
Oh,
just a
yeah,
total
yeah,
badass after Tracy gets killed, right?
yeah,
Like that would just flow so
yeah,
much better.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Roger Moore
It's silly. Yeah,
barbecuing the guy on the boat
yeah,
right at the end of the chase, like blowing
yeah,
him, like throwing the
yeah,
gasoline on him and
yeah,
lighting him on fire. Like that's such a post Tracy
yes,
death scene, don't you think?
yeah. I think so. Yeah. And as silly as people say Roger Moore is, and how Mankiewicz usually has the funny movies, and that is a lot of funny scenes. I think those first two Roger Moores are kind of like the darkest.
Yeah, well, they have so much action, right? I
Yeah,
mean, both of them have
yeah,
so much
yeah,
action, and
yeah,
and it's just brutal. And I think Roger,
yeah.
like part of the funny parts of Live and Let Die, they just needed more comedy
Hmm.
because all the voodoo stuff is super dark. You know, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, they
playful
do.
and
Yeah,
funny because you know like they're just
yeah,
using it to scare people, but at the same time it's like it's
yeah,
still scary stuff, right? It's still really there's a lot
yeah.
of dark imagery in that movie.
All right. Yeah.
So Roger being more
No, there is.
funny
Yeah,
just adds a lot of balance to it.
yeah,
I'm not trying to,
yeah,
do Live and Let Die before next week when we'll actually
yeah,
do the full
yeah.
review, but
Yes.
there's a lot to look forward to there.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I was gonna say, like, I think Sean was just as funny as Roger in this movie, though. Like, probably funnier
Yeah, yeah, no,
in
I
Diamond.
agree.
Yeah,
I think that this movie,
yeah,
like I
yeah,
enjoyed it so much more with this
yeah,
viewing, realizing, oh my God, it's not even sort of like they tried to do a comedy. Like they started from the beginning with
yeah,
this whole thing of like we're gonna make a funny James Bond movie. You know, like that was the
yeah,
thing. It wasn't like we're gonna make a James Bond movie that happens to be funny. No, it's like we're gonna make just a
yeah,
comedy James Bond movie. Like the whole
yeah,
thing's a comedy. And if you watch it
yeah,
that way, it's
yeah,
super entertaining.
yeah,
It's excellent.
yeah,
You know, you can't be watching this thinking
mhm,
you're gonna see From Russia with Love because you're not. It's just
yeah,
not that
yeah,
tone or that sort of movie at all. You know, it
right,
doesn't have that
yeah,
kind of drama. You know, this isn't really a
yeah,
drama at all. It's a comedy. It's Austin Powers before Austin Powers, really.
yeah. And I don't think there's ever gonna be one like it again. I wish there would be. I think
I
now would be a perfect time.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say like it would be amazing to get a movie like this, like a movie like this or Die Another
yeah,
Day for like
yeah,
something like after the Craig years would be incredible,
yeah,
because all of the Craig movies were so
yeah,
dark and serious and just gritty and everything
yeah.
else, and it's like okay, like
Mhm.
I feel like it would be amazing to get a movie like this or Die Another Day now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this movie has stayed up on top for me. I still love this movie. I think I love it even more. Every time I watch it, I see something different. So I love this movie even more. And I do wish there would be another one like it, although I'm pretty sure there never will be.
Yeah,
But
I doubt it too, at least at this
I
point.
guess the closest thing we got, yeah, the closest thing we got was Die Another Day. And I know at the time I thought it was kind of silly. I think because of how old I was probably like 20, and I was thought I was too good for it. And but now after watching the Daniel Craig movies for 20 years, like I'm done with that. Like I really appreciate
Right.
Die Another Day.
Dude, I could watch Die
Yeah,
Another Day probably
yeah,
every month and be
yeah,
entertained, like and not get tired of it because
yeah,
I think it's for
yeah,
me it's kind of like how Diamonds is for you. Like I appreciate Die Another Day
yeah,
so much for how
yeah,
wacky and over the top it was
yeah.
for the time in which it
Hmm.
came out. I remember going to the theater to see it, when I was in college, and
Yeah,
it was the first. I
yeah.
want to say it was the first Bond movie I saw in the theater. Actually, no, that's not true. I saw Tomorrow Never Dies.
Wow, yeah.
I remember that now.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw Tomorrow Never Dies. That was my first
Oh, okay.
in theater Bond
Oh,
movie.
wow.
Uh,
Wow.
but but Die
Yeah.
Another Day, seeing it in the theater, I was entertained. Like I didn't think it was as good as
Hmm.
Goldeneye or really, but I still thought it was really entertaining and yeah, it was
Yeah.
silly, but it was like, dude, there are some amazing stunts in that movie, like some really great action sequences. And
Yeah.
as you know, Halle Berry's my favorite Bond
Yeah.
girl, so of course she's in it, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like so it's got a lot
Yeah.
going on, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the other one. The more I watch it, the more I like it. Kind of like how Majesty's was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I'm getting to where like that's like a regular around the house. Like my wife likes it too. Like I always like popping on Die Another Day. Yeah. It'll be a long time before we talk about that, so I don't mind talking about it a little bit now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's our next one that
Yeah.
is I would say humor on this level, right, or close to it. It really doesn't
Yeah.
take itself
Yeah.
seriously, like so many of the other films
Yeah.
do. Not even remotely as much as the
Yeah.
others. And there are movies like The Man with the
Yeah.
Golden Gun is hilarious because of the concept,
Hmm.
right? Like the way that it's aged.
Yeah.
I would say that, right? Like, and I love The
Yeah.
Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
It's I
Oh yes.
we'll
Yeah.
get to that soon, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yes.
almost like it was funny by
Yeah.
mistake. Right? Somebody was writing it thinking, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is so cool. This is so badass." But if you watch that movie and it's just hilarious. Like the whole concept of it is hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I can't wait. We're coming up on that one, and next time on the show, it's going to be another one of our favorites, "Live and Let Die." And I don't know about you, but I'm super hyped. Like
oh yeah.
this is going to be like a long stretch of high points for me. As much as I like the '60s, like the probably my a couple of my favorite movies are the '60s, but overall, like Roger Moore era.
Right? This is your time.
70s, 80s, oh, 70s, 80s. Every single one's a banger for me. Like I'm
Yep.
gonna be so excited talking about every one of these movies.
Well,
Yeah,
I have to say that for me it's I'm right there with you. I don't think that I'm
yeah,
as big of a Roger Moore fan as you are, but I love
hmm,
Live and Let Die. It's one of my favorites of the whole
oh
series,
yes,
like,
yeah,
easily top 5. And
yeah,
it that's definitely my favorite of the Moore films, but I love The Spy
hmm,
Who Loved Me as well.
oh
Like
yeah,
I just think it was such a good film.
hmm,
And For Your Eyes Only is probably my other favorite of
oh
the Moore
yes,
films. But
oh man, yeah.
um, yeah,
I was lucky enough when Roger Moore passed away a couple of years ago. It's probably been a long time by now, maybe like five or more, but um he had his movies playing at the theater over here. He had a double feature, and all the proceeds went to what was it, UNICEF,
oh
his
nice,
charity.
nice.
Um, so my wife let me go watch it like two or three times. But I watched. They had a double feature: "Spy Who Loved Me" and "For Your Eyes Only"
Oh
at the.
wow,
So I got to watch them at the theater. Like two of the movies I always wanted to see at the theater.
that's
And
so
man, they're
cool.
so. Oh, it was so awesome watching those at the theater. We'll get to those soon enough, though.
Yeah, that would be amazing
Hmm.
to see those movies at the theater. I don't think I've seen any
Yeah,
of the Moore films in the theater. I think I saw, I want to say I saw From Russia with Love and Goldfinger at a film
yeah.
festival once. That was a long time ago.
Oh, excellent.
And they were doing the
Yes, I
old
saw both
ones.
of those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's like, how amazing would it be? See, this is what I think all the theaters should be doing
yeah,
now, because the new movies coming out, no
yeah,
offense, but they're just not of
yeah,
this quality, this caliber.
yeah,
Like, I think if
yeah.
movie theaters just shifted to doing film festivals of classic movies,
Yes.
they'd
Oh,
probably,
I
I'd
wish.
go back, right? I'd actually
Yes.
go back. I'd start going to the
Oh
theater
man.
if I could see,
Yes.
like, James Bond, Star Wars, Indiana
Yeah.
Jones,
Yeah.
all that stuff at the theater. I,
Hmm.
I would total
Yeah.
Terminator. I would, I'd,
Oh
I'd,
yes.
I'd go. Like I'd go
Yeah.
regularly if they would do that.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a little. We have. It's called the State Theater. We have in my town, and I have seen Goldfinger there. They play a lot of old movies. I saw Back to the Future there. I saw Jaws there. I saw
Nice.
American Werewolf in London. We saw watched Spaceballs. But
Wow.
I wish they would just play more Bond movies. And it's like the anniversary year for quite a few movies. 2024. There's the Goldfinger anniversary, the Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh yeah.
Uh, what was GoldenEye? Was that 95 or
It
94?
was 95. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
Hmm.
hopefully next year we get some, because I haven't seen any this year. Next year we'll get the Thunderball anniversary.
Hmm.
We'll get what do you call it? A View to a Kill, and we'll get GoldenEye.
Yep. You
So
have
hopefully some of
65,
those will.
85, and
Yeah,
95. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
that
wish
would
they
be
would.
cool.
Yeah,
That'd be a
yeah.
good series to see there.
Hmm. Yeah, but I don't know. They haven't been showing them. I wish they would. I know it's a big thing over the pond in England. They play them all the time. I would
Right.
like to go there just to hang out with a bunch of Bond fans and watch.
Right. Well, how
Yeah,
cool would it be to do this show from England, right? That would be
yeah.
amazing. Um,
Uh,
go to a film festival and then talk about it, on the show. That would
oh,
be
that'd be
so
so
cool.
cool. Maybe someday it'll happen. I never
Right?
thought this would happen. I never thought this would happen, Webs. I never thought I would have a friend that I would review all the Bond movies, and we're already up. We've already cleared the Sean Connery movies. I can't believe
Right.
this is happening.
I guess we really should celebrate because this is a milestone. The Albert
Yes.
Broccoli and Saltzman Connery
Yeah.
films. We've done them all
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what an amazing legacy! What an amazing series!
Yeah.
All of the products and stories that the movies, the video games, the music that came out of that era is just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yes. And we have more of this good stuff coming up. We're gonna move on into the 70s. I guess we're already in the 70s. So I
Right?
think this one sort of started off the new era of the 70s with uh Roger Moore and the Guy Hamilton little stretch right here, and the Tom Mankiewicz written stuff.
Yeah.
But then we're gonna move into another Lewis Gilbert, a couple of Lewis Gilberts, two of my favorites, and then we're gonna move into John Glenn, who's probably my favorite director of all time,
Mm-hmm.
and we've seen some of his editing so far. But we just got so much more. We've covered so much good stuff already, but we still have so much more to go. And then eventually we'll get into the Pierce Brosnan and Timothy Dalton, and we'll finish up with the Daniel Craig's. There might be a new Bond by then. Who knows?
Right? Yeah. So cool, man. So much lore, so
Hmm.
many things we could talk about. Um,
Yeah.
but let's hats off for Sean Connery.
Oh yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
s-
man right there. I know. I
started
know
it
he's
all.
neither of. Yeah. Started it all. Yes. Yeah. I don't think it would have been anything without him. Um, or maybe not what it is without him. But
Yep.
yeah,
Well,
I know
him
he's
and
not.
Terrence Young, right? Like we got to give
Yeah.
credit to
Terrence Young.
Terrence Young.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
But the two
Yeah.
of them
There's a
together
lot.
really really created James
Yeah.
Bond, on the screen.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. The man himself, in Fleming, who wrote up the guy. There's so many people to give credit to, but as far as the cinematic, I think those are the big two, Terrence and of course the producers. There's just so many, and that, don't forget about Monty Norman and John Barry, because like the sound you associate with the character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We'll give John Barry, like, credits in bold and, very big font. And we'll give Monty Norman little, like very small font, not in bold, right next to him, right? But he's still there. We still love you, Monty.
Yeah, we still. Yeah, you came out. You made that awesome song out of that stupid song you had before. but you made,
right.
Yeah. Oh man.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
I love it.
We had a great discussion we had today, talking about one of my favorite movies, and we're closing up the Connery era. Great having you, Wubs. Appreciate all your help with this series. Couldn't do it without you.
Right.
I don't think I ever would have done it without you. You're the backbone, bro. We got, but what else? You got anything else to say?
Well, everybody, don't believe what Tylord just said, because he does all the editing on these episodes. I was joking with him before we started today, and I said, because he was asking me, what number are we on? What number are we on? And I said, man, I don't know. I just work here. This is your show. Like,
wow.
So, yeah. But I love being here, man. I've loved doing every episode. I look forward to it every week. It's super fun. I know we say this in every episode, so I thank you so much for sticking around to listen to us, do these long outros and everything. If you're still here, bless you.
Bless. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. I know we don't get a lot of comments, but I see there are like 100 to 300 views per video, so I'm hoping someone is enjoying this as much as we are.
Right.
But thank you for the views. We really appreciate it. Comment down there.
Speaking of that, how about this episode? Let's just say, if you're still here, post a comment and just tell us who's your favorite James Bond. You don't even have to say it. Don't type a sentence. Just say, say the actor's name. Just type out the actor's name in the comments. Let's get a quick little poll here. Who's your favorite Bond? We just finished up the Connery films. Everybody loves Connery, but who's your favorite Bond? Tag it below. Let's have a little fun here.
Anything else, Wubs? You got anything else to say?
You expect me to talk more?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Well done, boys. Another successful mission. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this debriefing, please like and share it with your friends.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.